When literacy is deteriorating across the West, why do we still pretend the threat to independent thought belongs to one side of politics? Our leaders will tell you straight-faced that the rise of right-wing populism is a threat to democracy, which is a curious thing to say about people voting. The truth, as I always say, is in the unsexy middle, so let's talk about it. In Cambodia, the communist dictator Pol Pot had a murderous appetite for the educated. People hid their reading glasses in their pockets and stopped speaking French in the street because simply looking like someone could read could get you marched into a killing field. In Mao's China, intellectuals were derided as the stinking old ninth and ranked at the bottom of a hierarchy of suspect classes. Meanwhile, teachers were dragged onto stages in paper dunce caps and beaten by their own students. Under Stalin in the communist Soviet Union, a geneticist as brilliant as Nikolai Vavilov starved to death in a prison cell because the science he practiced had been declared the wrong science. Communist regimes persecuted any intellectual whose work threatened their doctrine, even whilst Marx himself spent years in the reading room of the British Museum. But, I hear you say, the fascists did it too, and you would be right. The Nazis burned over 25,000 books in May 1933 and murdered around 100,000 Polish teachers, priests and professors in an operation built for exactly one purpose: to remove the nation's ability to think. Hannah Arendt understood what dictators were actually frightened of, and it wasn't prestigious qualifications, it was people whose knowledge and private judgment gave them agency, independent to the state. Today we call it critical thinking or common sense. So treating anti-intellectualism as exclusively left or right is historically disingenuous. And if that feels like ancient history, consider what happened to public debate during COVID. People were cancelled and deplatformed for suggesting the virus might have escaped a laboratory in Wuhan, back when the only permitted story was a bowl of pangolin soup and Fauci was the science. The origin is still contested today, and that is precisely the point. It was contested then, but we were not allowed to say so. Need I remind you that most cheered this along, and very few have gone back and sat with what that says about how easily they were hoodwinked. Today we don't have killing fields or gulags, and drawing a moral equivalence would be absurd, but the temptation to discourage intellectual independence survives in far softer ways. It's in the lowering of standards, the embracing of mediocrity, and the idea that anyone who succeeds must have taken something from you. We are phasing out gifted and talented programs, dropping admission standards in the name of equity, and calling an extensive vocabulary ableist. The exceptional make the rest look bad, so it would be kinder if the tall poppy were cut just a little shorter. Anti-intellectualism rises whenever a system becomes more interested in conformity rather than judgment. The dictators wanted everyone equal and afraid. We seem to want everyone equal and comfortable, and I think the second one is far more frightening, because if you are comfortable enough not to notice what is eroding, you will not see it coming when your agency is taken, along with the words you need to describe it.